Hey, I'm live. I'm live. I'm live. I think I'm lagging a little bit, but I'm live right now. Yeah, okay, audio's on. You got to let me know if the audio don't work, okay? I'm capturing archive tapes too, so that's going to be a thing. Okay. Wow, we got a lot of stuff happening this week. We have a podcast tomorrow. We have Foodie Confidential tomorrow. We have the streaming Evil Live show tonight with Greg Fasolino. Super stoked about that. But today, right now, we're talking about Scream 5. I should say Scream 5. I don't know about you guys. I am so glad that they are pressing on with more Scream movies. This is sort of an extension of my previous video about Scream 3, which is based on an essay I wrote. I revisited the Scream movies for my 31 days, my annual 31 days of Halloween, where I watch a minimum of 31 horror movies for the month of October, but a maximum of almost, I think this year I did 61. I did 61 movies in the month of October. It did help that I am unemployed. Speaking of which, if you enjoy this content, I'm trying to make some upgrades that I can't afford. So I'm trying to raise funds for a new web camera that's better than this rinky dink one. So if you like this content, please consider buying a coffee, subscribe, leave a comment, or better yet, go to fromus.com, click on some of the ads there. The pennies go into my AdSense account. Okay, enough with the sponsored talk, whatever you want to call it. Okay, there we go. God, why are my glasses shined? All right, let's just keep talking. Anyway, so yeah, I made a whole video about Scream 3 and how, yes, it's flawed, but ultimately it leaves a well-rounded, happy ending for the trilogy and takes us back to the beginning, like it talks about in the tropes or whatever, brings us back to the beginning, shows us that there was a mastermind the whole time behind the entire thing. Also leads to the notion, which I don't think we really touched on, the idea that when Roman, who's Sidney's half brother by way of his mother, Maureen, when he tries to get Billy and Stu to kill Sidney, that was like the end goal. Mrs. Loomis and Mickey were copycat killers that he was not intending. This is very flimsy. This is a very flimsy sort of thing. Does it work for me as a fan? Yeah, it works. I'll buy that for $1. Cool. Whatever. That works in the greater scheme of things. The fact that it's Billy's mother, the fact that it's kind of like a reversal of the psycho trope. Instead of the crazy son, it's a crazy mom, a little bit of that. That makes sense to me, especially in light of, Mrs. Voorhees in Friday the 13th, the original, who was the original killer. So why couldn't it be the sequel killer? That works. That totally works. You don't realize how much psycho DNA is really in the Scream franchise, but it is there. For sure it's there. So in any case, and then in Scream 3, Roman finally comes back for whatever reason after a few years, decides it's finally time. I don't know what causes, there's no impetus that's ever really explained for why now, after so many years after the events of Scream 2, why is Roman suddenly pick up and decide to finish what he had actually started all those years ago? We never get an explanation. I'd love to hear your thoughts as to why that might be. We don't have to talk about that right now, though, because we're making our way towards Scream 5. So that completes this trilogy, Scream 1 through 3. And again, I like it. If there was never another Scream movie, I could have been happy with that. I love that Sidney is left in a place where she's free. She's free of all that BS. She can live her life. She possibly has this man in her life, and together they can be a happy couple. That all works for me great. Am I also glad that they made a Scream 4? Initially, yes, because I'm like, oh my God, we're getting a new trilogy, and the opportunity for more Scream, that works for me. I want more Scream. You know what I mean? I don't want less Scream. Something that I love so much. I love Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott. I hated Neve Campbell as Sidney Prescott in Scream 4. I thought it was a terrible performance. totally she dialed it in, man. I don't know if it was her fault. I don't know whose fault it is. I don't want to blame. I don't want to blame anybody, but yeah, it just doesn't. It doesn't work. It's a terrible movie. And originally the original idea is actually a really cool, ballsy idea, and something that you're going to do after you've made a trilogy of Scream films. Like, where else are you going to take the Scream stuff? Someone's got to die. You got to kill Sydney. So the idea originally was that Sydney was going to die from her wounds, and Jill, her cousin, was going to be the new Sydney. But the reversal, the flip to it all, which is probably why Wes Craven, jumped in the director's seat in the first place, is that Jill also happens to be Ghostface. So she's going to be both the Sydney and the Ghostface for the next trilogy. And Dewey is kind of onto her trail. Dewey suspects that perhaps Jill might have been responsible for Sydney's death. That is ballsy and interesting. And as much as it would break my heart to see Sydney die after all she managed to overcome in the original Scream trilogy, I would be accepting of that. But what they ended up doing, because of this tampering with the Weinsteins and just all this nonsense. Hold on, guys, I'm digitizing tapes, and my tape just ended right here. Oh, come on, stop it. Oh, there's more. Never mind. Let's let it sink. It's doing its thing. So there's there is really something to be said for what happens when a studio tampers with a film. A great example is Snowpiercer, brilliant film, which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Snowpiercer in the series on another show, another day. Is that still digitizing? I don't know. No, it's not. Let's stop this right now. Sorry, guys. So sorry. We'll deal with that a little bit later. Yeah, so they just totally they poop the bed with Scream 4. The Weinsteins interfere, the studio tampers, a bunch of mishigas happens. I don't even remember what it was. Somebody maybe want to fill me in on whatever that mishigas was. I don't remember what it was. And all of a sudden we get the poop show that is Scream 4's ending, where Sydney survives. Jill is like limping around a hospital bed trying to fit. It just doesn't work. And it leaves the whole series. And then Wes dies, right? Well, Wes dies, and it leaves the whole series in jeopardy because it didn't, it wasn't, I think it did made money, but it wasn't critically well received. It's a trash fire. I think Scream 4 is a trash fire. I don't understand people's love for Scream 4. Does it have a great opening? Yes. Are there great things about it? Yes. But what they do to Gale is terrible. I mean, I think I talked about all this already in the last. I'm being redundant here. What they did to Gale in Scream 4 is just atrocious. But the reason why I'm talking about all this stuff again is because it does play into the idea of what is Scream 5 going to be. The Deputy Hicks, the blonde who I forget her name, who was Sydney's classmate and has a crush on Dewey, is going to be in this new one. So she's coming back. Gale is coming back. Courtney Cox is coming back. The original, the formidable three, the trinity of Scream. You can't have a Scream movie without Dewey. You can't have a Scream movie without Sydney. You can't have a Scream movie without Gale. Now that's my question. Now, well, that's Bill. Sorry. I'm not doing a very good job of this. We're building to this idea of what is going to happen in Scream 5, right? So it's like they botched Scream 4, which was a really great concept, but it's been botched. So now where do they go with Scream 5? Do they reinvent that botched concept and try and go at it again with this idea of we're going to kill the old guard so that the new guard can come in? We've seen that before. We saw that with Disney. What did Disney do to the legacy characters? They killed them all off. I wasn't opposed to all the legacy characters getting killed off, but it was the way that they did it that was terrible. And so I'm really afraid for Dewey, Gale, and Sydney in Scream 5. Here's my prediction. Here is my prediction for Scream 5. Ready? This is my prediction. I think that and here's who's making it. They got the guys from Ready or Not. That really funny, clever, just really well done hide and go seek by way of horror thing that came out. Sorry, I'm not really good with language right now at this moment. We got a lag. We have a lag. Okay, we're back. Ready or Not, really great. Really enjoyed it. I think those guys are going to do great. They're going to do a great job with whatever they do. But I don't know. I'm scared. I'm really, really scared for our three heroes and heroines. And so here's my prediction. Ready? Sorry for such a buildup. The prediction is one of them is going to die in the opening. That's right. One of these legacy characters is going to die in the cold opening. Somebody always dies at the beginning of the Scream film. They really went above and beyond with this concept in Scream 4, and I really enjoyed it because it was really outside of the box. But how else are they going to make us feel unsafe? Because all these characters essentially have plot armor, right? Like they can't die. They're the main characters, you know? Sydney might have been able to die in Scream 3, but that didn't happen. She was supposed to die in Scream 4. She survived. So for them to actually finally kill her in the opening of Scream would be really insane. So here's my prediction. I think Gail is going to die. Why? Because I don't think they would be dumb enough to kill Sydney after her almost dying in Scream 4. And I don't think they're going to kill off Dewey because Nev Campbell probably isn't going to have the lasting power. She wasn't even she wasn't there for a lot of the filming of Scream 3. She was only there for about 3 weeks. And that's why there's a lot of scenes without Sydney, even though the film still works for me. And so I don't think who knows how many more Scream films Nev Campbell or Courtney Cox have in them. I think Dewey, David Arquette, who for a lot of different reasons will be there until they kill him off or until his dying day. He was supposed to die in the first one. He was supposed to die in the second one. You know, like it's just crazy. I think that David Arquette is safe. And there's been a lot of sort of speculation about David Arquette and the character of Dewey. We'll get to that in a second. So I think, and then the other thing is, so I think the only really expendable character who was just totally maligned and just she was already like limping. She was already like limping through the doorway was Gail. I mean, they turned her from this hungry, edgy, ballsy reporter lady into just like a bored housewife. It was what a terrible thing to do to Gail Weathers. Like truly, made her into a writer's block laden housewife who was looking to write a book. Just terrible, man. Rue says, I bet Dewey is going to save the day. Funny you say that, Rue. I'll get to that in a minute, Rue. Funny you say that because I don't think that's I think that, well, that goes against some of the theories that are out there. In any case, I think one of them is going to die. I think it's probably going to be Gail. I'm really thinking about this off the top of my head as I talk to you, but I did make that prediction a few weeks back, and it sort of stayed in the back of my mind. How do you make the audience not feel safe? Kill off one of the main legacy characters. And so I'm almost positive one of the three is going to die, and that's going to make me sad, but maybe it's also necessary. I don't even know what they're going to do with Sidney Prescott. I also think that Dewey and Gail are going to be divorced at this point, and Deputy Hicks is going to be married to Dewey, because we kind of saw that the beginning of that happening in Scream 4, and the Scream series like sort of reflects the real life of David Arquette and Courtney Cox. They met on Scream 1. They were dating on Scream 2. They were married by Scream 3, and they were divorced by Scream 4. And so it makes sense for them to be really divorced by Scream. Hicks going in with Dewey and Gail being divorced, and then they're gonna chop her off like a dead limb, and that would be terrible. Look, it's our friend Brandon who has Michael Graves on the mind at all times. Doesn't matter what topic I'm talking about. He just likes to check in here all the time and just say, hi, where's Michael Graves? I don't know, Brendan. You know where Michael Graves is. You know where Michael Graves is. Good to see you, Brendan. Thanks for checking in with us. So yeah, I don't know. Let's get to some of the theories though. So here are some, he knows what he's doing. Let's get to some of the theories though. So I pulled up a bunch of stuff from the internet. I'm not going to try and take credit for any of these things. The only thing I want to take credit for is that I independently thought in my head, one of the three is going to die in the cold opening. That was my only prediction. Okay. And then obviously there's going to be a shifting of the new guard. Who is it going to be? I don't know. They got Jack Quaid from The Boys. Great actor. He's the son of Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan. How about that? And you know what's interesting? For a young guy, he kind of looks really old. He looks older than he should be. I think he's in his 20s, but he looks like he's in his 30s. It's like really weird. And then you have Jenna Ortega, who, listen, okay, how do I say this with great respect and not coming off lecherous and creepy because I'm 35 years old? She is a beautiful young starlet who reminds me of what it was like to have a crush at the age of 20. How about that? Is that good? Is that respectful? She's beautiful, and she's smart and quirky and fun. And I loved her in the Babysitter sequel, and she was great in You. And I think that she has the juice to take over for my forever love, Neve Campbell. So everybody knows who watches my stuff. Neve Campbell, she's my forever love. I love her. I love Sidney Prescott. That was like my first Hollywood crush in 1996. And I feel like Jenna Ortega is the only one who can take that mantle. And why not let it be her? She's awesome. And she's a great actress. And I love seeing her in anything. And so I really hope that if anybody is going to inherit the main role in Scream, that it would be Jenna. But who knows? Maybe she's just knife fodder, which would make me really sad because I just think she's really great. I think I've talked about that before. And you have a couple other young Hollywood actors that I don't know of. I feel like Steve Buscemi dressed up like a skateboarder going, "Hey, fellow young kids," that meme you always see. But yeah, I think she's really great. I hope if they do kill off Sydney and they keep Jenna, that will mend my broken heart. Okay. That will mend my broken heart. But I don't know if that's the case. And again, like I always want Neve Campbell, aka Sidney Prescott, to be in a Scream movie. But at the same time, like if it's going to be like Scream 4, it just makes me sad. It makes me just want to watch the first 3 and call it a day. You know what I mean? And it really makes me just wish that they just ended it at 3 with like her leaving the door open. That's how 3 ends. She leaves the door open. She walks in to watch a movie. She's free. I hate that they disrupt that message by needing to return to this universe. Rue agrees with me about Neve Campbell. She's just the best, man. She's the cat's meow, the bee's knees, the jam on the jelly, the jelly on the toast. I mean, the butter on the bread. She's great. She's great. So we'll see what happens, man. All right. So here's some things. This is the main thing that everybody seems to be talking about. So we talked about Roman being the mastermind of the first 3 Scream films. By the way, I feel like I really suck today. Like I'm just not with it. I just don't have the verbal elasticity that I normally have to just plow through my points. I'm really sort of all over the place. So I'm very sorry about that. Dewey, there's this whole idea that Dewey is secretly the mastermind of all 6 Scream movies, or the mastermind of the first 3, and now he's going to be the mastermind in 5 or something. And this is really stupid. This is really, really stupid to me. Let's go to the shared screen and take a look. I would ask Jamie to pull it up, but I don't have a Jamie. I'm my own Jamie. So here's three Scream fan theories that we most likely won't see happening. All right, so this is won't see happening. The first one is Dewey is the original mastermind. One of the most niche and somehow oddly convincing theories you will find in the Scream universe is the fan favorite Dewey Riley has been involved in the murders from the beginning. I actually watched a video that talks about this and places Dewey is everywhere that one would need to be in order to be involved with every single murder in the original Scream, just about. I'm not going to go into each individual reason why. Those videos are out there. Seek them out. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting notion. I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's possible. It's a fun fan theory. And the first movie, without the other ones, take all the other movies make it really seem far-fetched. But if you're just looking at Scream as a self-contained first film, the Dewey theory kind of works a little bit. The idea that there's actually a third killer. That, if there is no Roman mastermind, if there is no 2 and 3, Dewey being the secret mastermind, pulling all the strings in the first one and doing what he says in the second one about how he's acting like this on purpose to throw everybody off his trail. That actually kind of works. That's not so, that is a little airtight. That does work. After watching the movies, knowing these ideas, certain details stand out, such as Roman getting Sidney's phone number from Dewey, his ability to never receive a fatal wound when left for dead, or even his conversation with Randy in Scream 2, spotlighting the idea of a goofy facade. The idea is actually, that was with Courtney. That's with Gail. The idea is almost so ridiculous that it actually works. Exactly. So the thought of Sidney and Gail being betrayed by the person they trust the most would be one of the biggest twists of the franchise. Something like this would be an epic reveal. However, I can't imagine the first film after Craven's passing would make a major role reversal for one of his beloved characters. Likely, not very. This is very well written. I totally agree with it. And again, it would be such a reversal. It would change the way we watch the other 4 movies, and it just wouldn't work. It would just pickle everything, and not in that good kind of pickly way. That's right. Jordan's bus, my son's bus comes in. I have reminders so I don't forget when my son's bus comes, because I'm an idiot. Sidney will become the killer. This is something that they had been talking about for a long time. I kind of like this idea a little bit. I also think it's a really stupid idea. I like the idea that Sidney is this uncorruptible force. Like, she doesn't break. She's always the hero, and she always survives. I love that. I love those qualities about her. Yes, it does create this sort of plot armor sort of situation, but it's a theme that runs through the original trilogy that really gets highlighted in Scream 2. And we've talked about it before. The scene with Dave, the amazing character actor David Warner. You've seen him in a million things. He's the scientist in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, the mutagen. He's the drama teacher, and he's convincing Sidney that she's always been a fighter and that she's just like, what's her name? Antigone. No, not Antigone. Cassandra from the Greek tragedy. I'm not going to go into it. Look at my other video. Yada, yada, yada. All that stuff goes out the window if Sidney becomes the killer. I just don't think it works. That feels really forced. Like, hey, we want to be different, because that's what the Ready or Not guys are doing. Like, we need to hold to the true spirit, which is turning people on their heads, subverting expectations, and doing something that has never been done before while staying true to the original energy. Does that work within those confines? I don't think so. Every time a character survives a horror movie for an extended period of time, people hope to see them become the villain thanks to The Dark Knight. However, I guess they're referring to Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. I hate The Dark Knight with a passion. Hate it. I love the Joker. The Joker is phenomenal, but The Dark Knight is terrible. It's not a good superhero movie, Batman movie at all. If you're familiar, if you read comic books, if you know the core tenets of Batman and who Batman is, that movie goes against all of them and makes it not a Batman movie. Primarily, the number one thing about Batman is that he will always be Batman. Even The Dark Knight Returns, he's still Batman, even though he's retired. In this movie, it's his want. What does Bruce Wayne want? Well, I guess you could say, if you're fracturing the characters and you're looking at the persona of Bruce Wayne and what Bruce Wayne really wants, he wants to be with Maggie Gyllenhaal and go off and retire, yada, yada, yada. But that still doesn't work, because Bruce Wayne is the true disguise. Batman is the real person. What is the Batman? Number one thing about Batman? Batman will always be Batman. That's why he doesn't have any kids. That's why he doesn't have any kind of real social life. Everything revolves around his one-man war. It's like a man fighting the ocean, and the ocean is crime, and he will never stop until he dies. And Batman's superpower, because yes, Batman does have a superpower. His superpower is the human spirit, the unbreakable human spirit. In the same way that Sidney's superpower is her unbreakable human spirit, and that no matter what happens, no matter who dies around her, she will never let herself break. So that's why this doesn't work for me at all. What a tangent that was. Jesus Christ. However, that is just one idea we don't really need to see. Sidney is the ultimate scream queen. She is, man. She's more of a scream queen even than Jamie Lee Curtis. There, I said it. Completely contradicting what I said in the previous, because we were talking about Laurie Strode just recently. No, it's Sidney Prescott. She is the scream queen. She's overcome like that would feel like a predictable transition. No way, man. No way. They can't. It can't be. Sydney is a survivor, so to break that down and have her become everything she hates would feel like there was never any genuine buildup. It would undo everything that happens in all the previous movies. Can't be done. This is not, Sydney is not some Darth Vader tragic force. Okay, can't be done. Not about it at all. Especially when you rewatch. Wait. So there's not a strong chance that Sydney will be found under the mask unless it's through a rewatch of the original where she unmasks after turning the tables on Billy, because she becomes the thing that is terrorizing her. And that's what makes her even more of a scream queen than Laurie Strode. Well, at least in the first one, we know that Laurie Strode does eventually face Michael in the Halloween H2O, as we spoke about very recently. But, she doesn't do it in the first film the way that Neve Campbell does. And that's why Sydney, forever love Neve Campbell, faced. It's genuinely hard to even imagine a Scream film without Sydney. Exactly. I was talking about that earlier. Could you imagine a Scream film without Sydney? I mean, so really, what are they going to do for the sixth film after they do the fifth film? And or is it going to be a trilogy? Is it going to be 5, 6, 7? Who knows, man? Who knows? This is the third one. This is something I would love to see. I don't know how it really works, but I would love to see this. This, of all of the three things, this is what I want to see. That Stu lives. Stu survives the TV falling on his face. This was originally supposed to happen in Scream 3. It has been mentioned by actor Matthew Lillard that there were originally talks that could have seen Stu return in Scream 3, having actually survived the killings and orchestrating the murders as a cult leader from prison. That would have been so cool. By the way, I am happy with what we got in Scream 3. The original idea for Scream 3 is way cooler and eventually kind of turned into the plot for the following. And there was this whole scene at the end where Sydney is surrounded by dead people that have been murdered by Ghostface, and they all rise at the same time and reveal that they had been there had been this grand conspiracy around her. It would have been really over the top, but it could have been so great. This idea was allegedly dropped, and some of that could have been the result of writer Kevin Williamson's procedural horror series, The Following, because that idea became The Following with Kevin Bacon. With decades having passed and Sydney now having returned to Woodsboro, there isn't really an active opportunity to say that he survived the murders. It would be a massive storyline, and by doing so, it would feel very difficult to rewrite the events of the last 3 chapters to fit the explanation. I agree. Some buzz around the new film suggests that there will be a lot of callbacks to the original. So that doesn't mean we won't be getting Stu references in some way, which would be such a treat for fans due to Lillard's perfect performance. It really was a perfect performance. And Stu's manic level of intensity that made him one of the most memorable killers in the franchise. Couldn't agree more. Let's take a look at a couple of these other things. 5 things that need to happen in Scream 5 for it to be a worthy sequel. Let's see if we agree with this. Okay, we're going to go through. What is this, like a picture thing? Why can't we see? So it's a slideshow. Let's do the slideshow. Okay. Kirby's return. So she was an okay character. She's the best friend, Kirby Reed. Kirby's return. Hayden Panettiere was the standout character in Scream 4. I didn't realize that. I did not realize that she was the standout character. I guess she was. In Scream 4 as Kirby Reed, a horror movie enthusiast with a wry sense of humor and a take no poop crap attitude. In one of the movie's best scenes, Kirby faces off with Ghostface in a tense game of horror trivia, breathlessly spouting off an impressive amount of horror he makes. Unfortunately, she gets stabbed anyway, but we never see Kirby die. And here's the thing that you have to remember, kids. And I feel like this goes, there's 2 things that you should always remember when you're watching any sort of narrative film or fiction or whatever. Ready? Thing number 1, if you see something at the beginning of a film or a show established, like let's say you see a gun or a knife, this is actually a literally thing. It's called a Chekhov's gun. If you see a gun, it was from a play, I think. If you see a gun at the beginning in the first act, it's going to get used in the third act. Whenever we see something pop up, don't think there's not going to be a callback later in the film. So that's super duper important, right? That's one thing you should always remember. Number 2, with the exception of Game of Thrones, Stannis Baratheon of House Baratheon. Remember, he's the older brother of Robert Baratheon and the other Baratheon. If you don't see a body, they did not die. So if you don't see them, or if you don't see them die, then they did not die, right? Unless if you don't hear them either. Sometimes you can hear the death off screen. Sometimes the death is implied, and they never return. But usually, in most fiction, if you do not see a dead body after something else happens, it's because they are not truly dead. So even though we didn't see Stannis die, because we didn't see Stannis die, I'm not totally convinced that Stannis died. I like to think that Brienne Tarth might have even had mercy after he was completely crippled. His force was crippled, everything was crippled, that maybe she did not behead him and just left him there wounded in the woods. So maybe he did die, but he didn't die by Brienne's sword. I don't know. In any case, we never saw Kirby actually die. We just saw her stabbed. And she definitely could go by the way of Dewey. She could come back in the next film, especially if she's a fan favorite. So we never officially see Kirby die. So it'd be easy to bring her back and make her face off against Ghostface once again, or perhaps even take the mantle on herself. Who knows? So that's one. Two, a strong central mystery. Scream is a slasher film, but it's also a tightly plotted whodunit. That's right. These films are all about whodunit. And that fact is kept super, super, super secret. I mean, and it's even intensified since Scream 4. I mean, they went to great lengths, like using special paper, to read the scripts on under a special light, like all sorts of jazz that they do for security reasons. Writing fake versions of the script to throw people off. Part of the fun, it's a trait that starts with Scream 2 and Scream 4. Let's not talk about Scream 3. F you. It's a trait that starts with all the sequels. Part of the fun of every movie is trying to pick up on the hints as to who the killer is. And it's always thrilling to see the person or people underneath the mask at the end of every film. Scream 5 would do well to return to the franchise roots and focus on cultivating mystery elements in the new story. I agree fully. This is like a central tenet to the Scream, to Scream. It's got to be a whodunit. And this takes from this is like a core tenet of the Giallo films, the Italian, thriller mystery films with the killer. You never see the killer. You just see the killer's hands, and the killer is always wearing black gloves, and you don't find out who the killer is until the end. And you got to do that for every Scream film. Inventive kills is one thing, but watching the characters escalating suspicion of one another adds complexity. Couldn't agree more. More of the Stab franchise. I don't know if we need that. I guess what? Are they going to do a Stab remake? One of the defining characteristics of the Scream films is their meta commentary on the state of the horror genre. Couldn't agree more. In Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4, this commentary takes the form of the Stab franchise, a fictional series of films based on Sidney Prescott's life and the various Ghostface murders. These fake movies spoof common horror conventions as well as scenes from the actual Scream films, which is so great. I mean, my mind was blown. Like, how blown is one's mind when they first watch Scream 2 and see how they sort of pay homage. They make nods to the original film by recreating it using a movie within a movie. It just adds such a layer, such a wonderful layer. It makes it so much clever. That's why Scream is the best. It's the GOAT, man. It's the friggin' GOAT. It adds a touch of levity to an otherwise bloody. It also adds a touch of levity to the otherwise bloody proceedings of each entry. Couldn't agree more. Updating viewers on the state of the Stab series would provide an opportunity for some subtle analysis of the Scream. I don't know if they need it for Scream 5, though. Obviously, there should be a callback or like a nod, have a poster in the background. I feel like Scream 5 can't use the Stab series as a crutch. That will really hurt it. If anything else, it will really hurt the new Scream film. 4, a killer opening scene. Who could forget one of the most suspenseful film openings of all time? Poor Casey Beckers, played by Drew Barrymore. Drew was originally supposed to be like the main star. She was supposed to be, I think she was supposed to be Sidney Prescott or something, and it was her idea to die in the opening. And the opening goes on for about 13 minutes, 10 or 11 minutes, maybe 13 minutes, something like that. It goes on for quite a while. Poor Casey Beckers' deadly game of cat and mouse with her killer has become so revered that subsequent Scream films purposely up the ante with their opening scenes. Scream 2's murder at a movie theater and Scream 4's montage of stab opening sequences are both clever and scary introductions in their own right. Again, we don't talk about Scream 3. What is up with the hate on Scream? I can't stand the hate for Scream 3. You know what's funny about the hate? This reputation that some films get? Like, it's like you're not cool or you're not with it if you don't hate this thing the way everybody else hates it. It's so stupid. It just makes me mad. I'm getting so mad as they throw shade at Scream 3 like that. Scream 5 definitely has a lot to live up to in this area, and our hopes are high for a chilling opening sequence that both honors the franchise legacy and surprises viewers. And again, that brings me back to one of the three is going to die. I think it's going to be Gale. I think Dewey, if they do a trilogy, Dewey will make it through all three. Maybe Sidney will die at some point, unfortunately. I think the ballsiest thing to do would be to kill Sidney in the opening. And then do sort of, I mean, let's explore that for a minute. So let's say they do kill Sidney Prescott. What do you create when you kill Sidney Prescott? One, you don't have to put Sidney through any more BS. Like, her character is almost retired once she's murdered. She's already got the track record of the other films. She kicked ass in the original trilogy. 4 was 4. See, they should be talking about 4 the way they talk about 3 in this piece, whatever. So by almost sort of killing her, retiring her through killing her in the opening scene, not only do they spin all of our heads off of our bodies, but they also create this sort of, how should I say, they create sort of like this Twin Peaks sort of thing going on, right? Like, they do a Twin Peaks scenario where everything centers around the death of this person. So could it be that? Now, they've also said that Sidney comes back to Woodsboro for a reason because of a death. So maybe in fact Sidney does survive. But if they really wanted to just like have all the balls in the world and just do it, like, kill Sidney. As much as I hate that, kill Sidney. Otherwise, it's going to be Gale. I think it would be Gale. Again, a character that was limping by. Both Gale and Sidney kind of limped through Scream 4. That's the truth. And that's really sad, but it's the truth. And a shame that they killed Jill. You know, at least put Jill in jail. Put her in jail and then have her escape. You know, somebody who admires her. Okay, hold on. Something's brewing in my mind. All right, ready? This is what I would have done with the end of Scream 3 and the end of Scream 4 going into Scream 5. Jill doesn't die. Jill survives. Jill is in jail. Do the whole sort of cult admirer supporter thing. Somebody busts Jill out of jail. I don't know who the hell that would be. Gale gets murdered. Sidney comes back to Woodsboro. She teams up with a bunch of high schoolers for some reason. That's going to be Jenna Ortega. And, you know, Jack Quaid is too old to play a high school student, I think. So maybe he's like a teacher. He's like a freshman teacher, like a first year English teacher that works with Jenna to stop the madness or something. I don't know. That's where my mind goes with that. Let's see what they have for 5. The death of a main character. Okay, so there you go. There you have it. So they talk about it. Speaking of surprises, I know this one's controversial, but a main character death might just be what Scream 5 needs. I hate to say it, but it might be. It truly might be. Sidney, Gale, and Dewey are horror movie royalty. They are. They're royalty, man. It's the perfect way to put it. They've survived 4 movies and a pantheon of Ghostface killers. If one of them died, it would break fans' hearts, including theirs and including mine. But if it's well executed, it would add higher stakes to the film by introducing the most lethal version of Ghostface yet and give the franchise newcomers a bit more room to shine. I guess that's true. I guess we have to accept it. I mean, imagine Sidney dying in the first 5 minutes. Yes, that's exactly what we have been imagining. If that doesn't make you want to scream, I don't know what will. And furthermore, yeah, dude, I mean, it really, I feel like it kind of got to do it. I hate to say it. It just, oh, that's what I wanted to say. If they're going to do it, it has to be maybe through some sort of sacrifice. It needs to be done through some sort of sacrifice where they don't die in vain. Maybe Sydney sacrifices herself to save this Jenna Ortega high school character who becomes the new Sydney. And she sacrifices her life and tells her to, like, you got to live no matter what, just live, something cool like that. And then she faces off against Ghostface and does what Sydney is not able to do. But the story is not finished because she only kills one of the killers, which means the other killer is still out there somewhere. Dun, 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 Scream 6. It's fun to speculate, isn't it? Is that the end of that? Yeah, that's the end of that. Hold on. There's a couple more things here we can explore. I really have to end this, but all right, let's look at the 10 fan theories from Scream. Uh, in Scream 5's case, fans have said Sydney could become Ghostface. Yuck. It would just be so, it wouldn't be powerful to see. It would be powerful. They say it would be powerful to see one final girl who outfoxed every Ghostface to date to become the killer who overshadowed a better part of her life. No, I understand the motivation that if she becomes Ghostface, she's taking control. She's in control in a way she's never been in control. She can't die if she's the one that's doing the killing. She can't, her loved ones won't die. See, there's an interesting angle. So Sydney won't die, and more importantly, Sydney's loved ones won't die if Sydney is the one who's choosing who dies. Talk like having a psychotic break and leading it to that. That would be interesting. And then she's sort of doing a Dexter thing where she's only picking people that like really deserve it. I don't know, man. I don't know. Randy didn't die and he's Ghostface. That is so stupid. Another fan theory is that Randy didn't die and he's become the serial killer. Gah! When Jamie Kennedy, the actor who played popular character Randy, tweeted the news about Scream 5, a fan responded to him saying Randy faked his death and he is the mastermind behind the killing. So, though this is yet to be confirmed or denied, come on, by the writers of Scream 5, this would definitely be a compelling story. Kevin Williamson, who I really trust, I feel like Kevin Williamson has great integrity. He has personally co-signed, but that's what always happens. The original, like, for instance, John Carpenter, he always, like, I feel like he's bribed. Like, they pay him a fee to endorse the new Halloween. I hope that Kevin Williamson has not followed route because Kevin Williamson has endorsed the new Scream screenplay, and he's an executive producer, and he said this is like awesome and the way to go. I like Kevin Williamson. I think he's a great writer. He was the voice of the entire second half of the 90s, like in teen narratives or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that dude, that was like my childhood, Kevin Williamson. He's the man. He's the friggin' man. I don't know why I went to all that. 8, Kirby Reed is alive and she's coming back. Yeah. Okay. We talked about that already. Scream 5 will be truly a meta movie. Another fan theory is that Scream 5 will go really meta. Thought Catalog asked if Scream 5 was about the original cast of Scream making the movie or a sequel in real life, and we couldn't ask for more. This would make sense since the franchise already known for making fun of itself and being very self-aware. This was more evident in Scream 4, which opened with a barrage of fake movie trailers. I mean, that would be I never thought of that, and that would be very interesting. I don't know if that's where I would want them to take it, but as a fan, but that would definitely be interesting. That would be a very Wes Craven's New Nightmare. New Nightmare is sort of the proto Scream. That's Wes Craven first experimenting with this meta stuff where Nightmare on Elm Street was taken to such like peaks and heights of ridiculousness that the only thing that could be done to go back to the original, and they ended it with the New Nightmare. And I think you never need another Freddy movie ever again. I think New Nightmare is perfect. It really is perfect. Is to go into the real world. And so that's what they do. So it's like meta on top of meta on top of meta. 6, Dewey is actually a bad guy. Yes. And, something else we didn't mention, but I saw in one of those videos, the idea is that, everything is sort of motivated by, lusting or wanting to possess Sydney in some way, shape, or form. And I feel like what's always been left unsaid is that Dewey, on some level, no matter his love for Gale or their love and hate relationship, Dewey has always had a big brother sort of relationship, big brother, little sister relationship with Sydney. But I also feel like she's also pined for Sydney, and that he too has carried a torch for her, but in like a very noble kind of way. But what would happen if he uses the ghost face mantle to sort of bring them together one last time because he loves her so much? That would be a very interesting twist. It would also, again, all this stuff undoes what has been established in 4 films. That's why none of it really would stick or work in the way that we would want it to work. It works great as a fan theory. It works great as fan fiction. It doesn't work as like an official canon thing, I don't think. Fans wonder if Dewey is the killer this time around. He's used his accumulated goodwill and upstanding image as cover. It's just too many movies. If they had done that in Scream 3, it would have worked in Scream 3, actually. Oh my God. Wow, these articles are making me think really outside of the box. Ready? What if instead of Roman being the mastermind in Scream 3, it was actually Dewey? That would work really freaking well. I want to do a whole video about that. Let's talk about that at another time. Imagine if hold on. I kind of want to explore this right now. Imagine if Dewey was actually the mastermind in Scream 3. That would work so well. Everything I just said would work in Scream 3. That Dewey reveals himself after all these years. He's been sort of doing it, and he's been doing it because of the torch he carries for Sydney, and that it can all end if they could just be together. That would be very fascinating. All right, number 5. Sydney dies, but not really. Many fans have wondered if Sydney would make it to the end of Scream 5. A Reddit fan theory suggests that Sydney dies at the beginning of the movie. Okay, so I'm not the only one to think this up. Only for her to turn up live again later on. Oh, I love that. Okay, so she dies at the beginning of the movie, but turns up later. Would love that. That would be really good. That would give us the sinking feeling that she's dead and the hope that she might be alive at the end of the movie. I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. This is a good idea, as it would be scary to watch the franchise main character get abruptly killed while also keeping audiences on their toes. It would also be a good way to satisfy fans, as some think Sydney needs a real ending this time around, but conversely, others don't want to see her suffer. Hello, Scream 3. It ends perfectly. Jesus, man. 4, Gale becomes Ghostface to help her career. Ugh, this is so stupid. Gale becoming Ghostface. If anything, Gale convinces Dewey to become Ghost. Nah, I don't know. No, she hires someone to become Ghostface. This fan theory comes from Reddit, and some suggest it would be interesting if Gale was Ghostface in Scream 5. I don't know, man. This theory thinks that she's not on TV anymore and she's having trouble making money from her books, so she's starting yet another massacre. Now, what could work? Oh, Rue likes this idea. Okay, Rue, this is how this would work if it did work. Gale would not be Ghostface, but what she would do is she would take someone under her wing, a high school student. See, you know where that, okay, real missed opportunity. This is what should have been. This should have been the plot of Scream 4. Ready? This should have been the plot of Scream 4. Gale takes Jill under her wing to recreate or bring the murders back into the spotlight, create all this buzz around her instead of around Sydney, culminating in this attempt to murder Sydney, make Jill the new Sydney, and make Gale once again bask in the spotlight. And that is how you end Scream 4, and you don't need another film after that. That would have ruled. I feel like this idea is one movie too late and a missed opportunity for Scream 4. Everyone is killed in the opening. Okay, that is probably the most ballsy thing ever. But I think if they were to do that, if you kill everybody in the opening of the film, Dewey, Gale, and Sydney, then and you just leave us with new people, we're all going to be desensitized for the rest of the movie. We're not going to care. We're not going to be able to root for anybody or anything, and we're not going to care. It's just not going to work. This would definitely be a powerful way to open a sequel, as fans wouldn't be expecting it. Some new faces would then carry the rest of the movie. The new faces could not carry the rest of the movie. I don't think it would work. If anything, much like Star Wars, Finn, Poe, and Rey are all great characters who, sort of get really destroyed as the trilogy goes on. But they sort of take the place of the old characters gradually. It doesn't happen overnight. So to kill all three of them in the opening and then just leave us with the new characters would not work. Would not work. As ballsy, that would be the ultimate balls to the wall subversion. That would be cool. Emma from the TV show and Sydney work together. This fan theory comes from Reddit and involves the TV version of Scream. I watched the first 2 seasons. Someone told me to stay away from the 3rd season. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I still kind of want to check it out. This fan thinks that Scream 5 is going to be a TV show film crossover that will unite both cinematic and televised worlds of Scream. I don't think that would work. They think that Emma, the television show's lead, should reach out to Sydney and they would bond over the fact that both of their partners tried to kill them. Nah. There's another serial killer in town. Nah, I'm not going to even. No. Holy moly. Okay. All right. Put your hats on. This is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Ready for this? I kind of hate this, but I kind of like this because of Scream 4. I hate this because of what it does to Scream 2 and Scream 3, but I like this because of what it does to Scream 4. Ready for this? Holy moly, this is great. I never thought of this. Ready for this? Scream 5 is actually a sequel to the first film. Head exploded. Another fan theory is that the new film could be a sequel to the first movie and it wouldn't have to follow anything that happened in the past 3 movies or series. A fan tweeted this theory and said, Scream 5 should be a direct sequel to the first Scream and be a commentary on how every franchise just ignores sequels and resets these days. This is a great idea, and it seems like it could happen. After all, the 2018 Halloween soft reboot sequel was all about what happened right after the 1978 film. We talked about previously, go watch my Laurie Strode versus H2O versus Laurie Strode Halloween 2018 and see what I'm talking about there. It sort of works and it sort of doesn't. So well that it spawned a trilogy. So they're talking about the Halloween series, but we don't know if that's going to be a good trilogy or a bad trilogy. I love this idea. Why? Like, it breaks my heart. You know what it does? You know what that does actually? It makes Scream 2 and 3 once again its own self-contained trilogy. It allows us to erase Scream 4, which I hate, and it allows the possibility of bringing Stu back. That's there. You can have Stu back. You could have Stu return. He didn't die. He's released from prison, or he escapes from prison, or the cult helps him to escape from prison, and yada yada yada. That would work really, really well. There is so many ways you can go. You can bring Randy back. So when you make Scream 5 a direct sequel to Scream 1, you bring Randy back. You can bring Stu back. You can have Dale. You have Dale. You have Dewey come back. I mean, you could have everybody in this film. I love this idea. You could have Cotton. You can bring back all your players and basically have one more bite of the apple. And in this day where we have all these offshoots, which are confusing, I mean, why not? I'm down for that. Out of all the ideas that have been pitched, out of all the things that we've seen thus far, my personal favorite is that Scream 5 is a direct sequel to Scream 1. That works for me. Okay. So yeah, I'm really down with that. Let's see one last thing before we go. We're going to look at Reddit directly now. These are ghost-faced theories for Scream 5. Imagine Scream 5 is a continuation of Scream 4. Kirby is alive in addition to Sydney, Dewey, Kincaid, and Gale. See, we lose Kincaid, which I really like. I really liked Kincaid's character from Scream 3. God damn, I hope someday people will treat Scream 3 the way that they now treat Halloween 3. And it's like welcomed. Maybe if Scream 5 is a bust, people will go back to Scream 3 and go, there you go. There's your trilogy. We don't need any more. Keep it as a trilogy. Sydney gets a happy ending. Um, Look at what they say. I would love if Randy's death was faked in Scream. Too much of this faking of death. It's just so stupid. And he was pulling the strings the whole time. Actually, that's kind of interesting. Okay, never mind. I take it back. That's another interesting idea. Randy is not really dead. Randy was working with Billy's mom and Mickey, and Randy has been waiting in the wings. And Randy, with his horror movie knowledge, is crazy enough. He would even record himself on tape and then have his sister deliver that tape. I mean, it's crazy enough to kind of be interesting. Someone says, Stewie and Randy need to remain dead, I think. We clearly saw them die, so it would be so ridiculously unrealistic for them to come back. Everybody wants Kirby to come back. Plot twist, Sydney's the next Ghostface. Yes. Yada, yada, yada. I want Gail to be the killer. She hasn't had so it looks like that article took from this Reddit thread. Kincaid returns and reprises his role and tells everyone that he was really helping Roman in Scream 3, in which he really was, right? Well, there were the way that they were shooting it, there were some alternate endings where Kincaid is helping Roman, but I don't like that. I like that he was her love interest. Why? Because Roman, who also has seen his fair share of death being a homicide detective, and even alludes to this a little bit, he has, now that he's survived his own Ghostface event, him and Sydney are on even ground and they can be together. That really worked for me. I was so stoked with that. He would be Sydney's husband. Worthy. Okay, this is what I Cannot Think says. I'm going for one of three, saying them in order of least to most wanted. Ready? 1, new killer, no returning person is the murderer. I think this one's the second most likely, but I really hope it isn't. It would just be kind of lame. Agreed. 2, Dewey is the killer. Right. I think it's stupid. No, Dewey should not be the killer. 3, Stu is alive and has a murder groupie or murdered groupies helping him continue his film from prison. I mean, I kind of want that. Like, give us, like, is there anything more fun than when you go back to the first thing? You know, that's always fun. Randy Meeks and Judy Hicks. Randy's sister. Yeah, right. There I am. What are some of your thoughts? What are some of your hot takes about all this stuff? Gonna end it here. We have another show tonight after Devilman. Devilman from 7th House. He's doing a Steve Zing thing. I'm gonna be in there for about an hour, hour and a half, something like that. And then after that, Greg Fasolino from the guy whose archive that we've been looking at. He's joining me on the show, and we have another surprise for you. So stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled for that. It's going to be so much fun. He told me what he uncovered in a private chat, and it really has me. It's not another interview, another unreleased interview. I wish it was. It's not, but it's something that is related to what we've covered in the last 2 Streaming Evil Live episodes. So tune in, check that out. Oh my God, there's 2 minutes left until I always like rounding things up to like it be exactly like 1 hour or 1 hour and a half. Like I hate doing things on like weird random numbers. So it's like 58:16. It just doesn't work for me. Hey, Rue, thanks again for joining us. I'll always be safe. I will always cough cool. You as well. I just kind of want to go for 90 more seconds because I want it to be exactly 1 hour. Will I rewatch the original Scream franchise? I just did it for this Halloween. I don't know if I could do it again. You know, it's weird with me. Like if I revisit a film and like there's some films that I could watch over and over and over again. I never get sick of them. Like I could literally watch the same movie back to back twice in a row. And like Return of the Living Dead. I can watch Return of the Living Dead and then start the movie over from the beginning and watch it again with like different commentaries and stuff. There are some movies where like I have to wait like 5 or 10 years to revisit them. Like there are some movies like when I see a movie once, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I don't need to revisit that film for a really long time. Why? 1, there's just too many films out there to see, and there's just not enough time. I'm not going to make it out of this life with seeing every single film I want to. So I try and always prioritize things I have not seen versus things that I have. But, you know, there are these moments where you just want to revisit something. You want to have a comfort food. It's like a comfort blanket that you turn on. Prime example, I'm going to be redoing the Tales from the Crypt show. I got all 7 seasons. and I'm going to be rewatching those at some point this year. I want to do the same thing with Twilight Zones, which I haven't done in a good decade. So there'll be that. Okay, that's good. I'm really leaving this time. I gotta get my son from the bus. I gotta feed my daughter lunch. I gotta clean up the house. I'm a house husband right now, at least until I find a new job. And that's it. So peace and